That's the last time that CJ Stroud played in a truly hostile environment in a game with massive stakes. I suppose you could argue that Saturday game in Indianapolis against the Colts was on the same level. The Colts were probably pumping in crowd noise, right? Though, I have to say, like, the rest of the big games that CJ Stroud has played in, the other game against Michigan, that one was in Columbus. The college football playoff appearance, neutral site game, certainly an electric atmosphere. That's the last time that Stroud played in like a really, really tough place. And he did well. Wasn't his fault they lost that game, at least based off of the numbers. He was 34 of 49 for 394 yards and 2 touchdowns. Michigan scored 42 points. Sure, Stroud could have been a little bit better. The next year, the game that they played in Columbus, I thought Stroud was worse. He had a couple of turnovers. But this is going to be the biggest game and most difficult environment that CJ has played in since, I think, that game. And yeah, you could argue the college football playoff game against Georgia, but it's a different vibe when you're on the road and you're playing in front of a loud crowd. And I know that maybe we take everything that ex-Tennessee Titans say with a grain of salt, but I know Taylor Lewan and Derrick Henry, when they talked about how the Titans and Ravens played back in 2019, they were blown away by how loud that crowd was. Here they are discussing the Ravens crowd.
Like, Kansas City is really loud. Seattle's really loud. I have never seen an environment like the Bank in that game. That specific game, when the crowd was so loud before, like after the national anthem, it was so loud it was deafening, as if it was 3rd and goal for the game.
I got chills, bro. I got chills
right now. They have, when they're announcing players, and people are getting the loudest eruptions. I'm talking about a center getting the loudest eruption. Some guy who's like a tight end just getting a loud eruption. Lamar comes out, towel around his neck, and the place blew up.
Now, the Ravens lost that game, but I mean, it's a loud place. And I mean, anyone who's seen Wedding Crashers knows that there's a couple of things that Maryland really loves. It's a food and it's a sport.
Yes! Crab cakes and football! Nice. That's what Maryland does!
So I respect the Ravens crowd. I do. I think Ravens fans are pretty smart. Maybe they're a little bit too into Joe Flacco. But at the same time, I feel like that is a good fan base and that it will be loud, and that's going to perhaps lead to some communication issues for CJ Stroud, for Bobby Slowick. Playing them in week 1 in a regular season game versus a playoff game, it's just going to be a much different atmosphere. And I mean, yeah, the Orioles have been good all of a sudden for the last calendar year, but that is a football town, Baltimore, and that is one of the good NFL football towns. It's forgotten. You know, we always talk about Philly and others, Pittsburgh, but Baltimore is up there, and Baltimore's had the success, but they haven't gotten too bougie with the success. Working class town. I have a lot of respect for the city of Baltimore. I do. Mainly because I just love the television show The Wire. I really.
You just imagine everyone cheering because Omar.
Yeah, that. And on top of that, I mean, there's only one other franchise other than the Giants who gave my favorite team growing up, the Patriots, trouble. It was the Ravens. It was not the Colts. Like, the Ravens are the only team that beat the Patriots twice in the playoffs other than the Giants. And the Broncos did it too, I guess, but I don't count them because I was Peyton Manning, not the Broncos.
I also...
Actually, the Broncos did it 3 times.
What was the other one?
It was with Jake Plummer back in 2005. Uh-huh. They ended the dynasty, the first dynasty. But, of course, the dynasty lasts forever. Whatever. No one cares about the Patriots. It's Texans. It's Ravens. It's Saturday. And it's going to be a tough place for CJ Stroud to play. Maybe he needs a little advice from a guy who's a Houston sports legend. Maybe one of the greatest rookie performances in Houston playoff history not too long ago. Of course, talking about Jeremy Pena in this interview that he did with KPRC's Ari Alexander.
He's doing it. And I wish him all the best. Keep doing it. Keep grinding. He seems like a very humble dude. He seems like a hard worker. And I'm glad he's having all the success he's having.
I wanted a little more from Jeremy Pena there. How do you do it, Jeremy? How do you be so handsome and amazing as a rookie, right? And maybe not so much in your second year. How do you avoid the sophomore slump? Tell CJ that too, because we want to make sure the Texans are back here next year.
Yeah, Jeremy Pena in that clip doesn't strike, and it's completely fine, but he doesn't strike me as someone who's watched a ton of Texans games, where he's like, man, he's doing it. Mm-hmm. He's doing it, all right. Just keep doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely true. He looked like he was cold outside, too. He's like, can I go inside? Ari.
Absolutely.
Ari, why are we doing this outside? Where is this random
Wasn't this
river?
video from like Tuesday? No, it was from Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like it was in downtown Houston, but I'm not even 100% sure. That could have been in some random part of the country. Jonathan Grenard, Houston Texans sack leader, 12.5 on the year, was asked about what CJ Stroud's done as a rookie. And you might remember he actually played at Louisville with Lamar Jackson back in the day. Here's what he had to say about the Houston Texans rookie quarterback.
I've been blessed to play on with great quarterbacks, in college. When I played with Lamar, you would never know he had all the accolades he had, type of player he is, type of person he is, if you know him in the media now. Same with Seven. You would never know he's the best rookie quarterback class ever to play. You would never know these things. He's just such a humble kid and a guy that just wants to play ball and make everybody else better. So seeing that and hearing that, man, that's just a great feeling to know as a vet. And a guy that's on the defensive side, know that your guy on offense, the leader, your quarterback, is having the same confidence you do. So,
love hearing that. I think that's what makes Stroud so likable is he really does seem down to earth, humble. That could obviously change as he gets accolades and success. Like he's going to win Rookie of the Year. It's the first of hopefully many awards that he'll win. I know that even though DJ Bieneme and I were arguing about who you'd take for this game, Stroud or Lamar Jackson, DJ said he would take Jackson. But at the same time, he said Stroud will be an MVP someday. Like we know a lot of it's coming, but really the humbleness and despite being the second overall pick, I think the way he carries himself as just another guy in there, that is not easy to do when you come into the league as that guy. Some people can handle it. Some people naturally become it. But if you come in like that, the number 2 guy, like you're already basically ahead of every single other player on the roster. And to maintain that level where now like your whole team is going to want to play for you and essentially kill for you out there. There are reasons that I get Tom Brady vibes from CJ Stroud. That is one of them. We talk about Brady on the field, but off the field, Brady's about as normal as it gets when it comes to successful quarterbacks. And okay, maybe that wasn't quite the same when he was 42 and everyone else in the locker room is 23. Maybe it was a little bit different then. But that's an everyman. And that's what you want in a quarterback in a game that has become essentially classist, where like the quarterbacks are the 1%. And just like us, the 99%, they're just trying to string together 3 years in the NFL so that they can get some sort of a pension.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is with CJ is that it just seems also genuine too.
Yeah, it does.
That's the biggest thing.
It really does.
Even just compare him to anybody really, any quarterback. It is who CJ is. It's unanimous. Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah, that's who CJ is. He's just an awesome guy. So yeah, I think no matter what, like you and DJ were talking about, and obviously y'all got in a great heated debate.
A lot of yelling.
Yes, but at the end of the day, like you said, DJ thinks that CJ Stroud's going to win an MVP later in the day or later in his career, and you also think Lamar is like a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah,
like that. Like what we're arguing is is on the margins. These are two very good quarterbacks, and it's going to be a great game. And, I mean, the other game, this will lead us into the next segment a little bit. The other game is Mahomes and Allen, and I'm not sure which game has a better quarterback matchup.
AFC is loaded with quarterbacks, and you ain't kidding. And yeah, I think Lamar Jackson's top 5. I honestly, I'd probably put Josh Allen also in the top 5.
Yeah, I think 4 of the top 5 are playing on the AFC side this weekend.
I think the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL are in the AFC. Like, I don't really think that's debatable, right? Like, it's in my opinion, it's Mahomes, Burrow, Stroud, Allen, Jackson. And the difference with Jackson, the reason he's at the bottom is because his playoff numbers stink.
Yeah.
Like that's why. I get that, as some people would argue, it's lazy, but that is the reality. He has struggled in the playoffs. I believe he can change that. I'm hoping it just does not happen tomorw.
Yeah, or if
it does, at a less of a rate than what CJ Stroud does to hopefully Baltimore tomorrow.
Yeah, it is a situation where the Lamar thing could just, in 3 weeks, we could be like, man, that was stupid. That was stupid that we held the playoff thing against him.
It could be.
He could go on a crazy run.
But you have to operate in what he has done to this point. And yeah, maybe it is unfair, but the people that are so damn defensive about Lamar Jackson, it does get a little bit annoying. Like, I like Lamar Jackson. I think he's capable of it, but I'm not going to yell because, no offense, DJ, because he hasn't done it. Because it's not lazy if that's literally been what has happened to this point. It is a frustrating argument to hear, but that is the reality. And he's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. If we're talking pressure, yes, this is going to be the toughest environment that CJ Stroud's played in since that game in 2021 against Michigan because of the decibels and the hostile crowd. But there is way more pressure on Lamar Jackson in this game. That is for sure.
That was nothing short of a tremendous drive by the Houston Texans. 86 yards.
I am glad we no longer have Dan Dierdorf and his lack of energy on the call. But I do miss Greg Gumbel. Greg Gumbel was a staple of the CBS and before that NBC broadcasts of AFC football games. Foster had 27 carries for 132 yards and that touchdown in the Texans' very noble 20-13 playoff loss to the Baltimore Ravens back in 2012. Despite Jacoby Jones muffing a punt inside his own 10, despite 3 interceptions by TJ Yates, they were so close to winning that thing. Neil Rackers gets a little bit more leg on a late 50-yard field goal. If TJ Yates takes care of the football right after the 2-minute warning, a 1st and 10. He throws a horrible interception into double coverage to Ed Reed. They get the ball again. They throw a Hail Mary up at the very last second into a horde of defenders in the end zone. They're not able to get it. Like, they had chances, and it's because of the way Foster played, because of the way the Texans offensive line played, because of Andre Johnson. His best playoff performance, 8 catches for 111 yards. J.J. Watt, maybe his signature performance in a big game for the Texans. 12 tackles, 9 solo, 2.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. He was an absolute menace in that game. Really. A game that I think there's no real second when it comes to the most impressive performances by the Houston Texans in a big spot. You know? Like, none of those wins against the Bengals really do a lot for you. That win against the Bills, they played horribly for the majority of that game. The win against Connor Cook and the Raiders, like, really, you know? But that was a hell of a performance, and it's unfortunate that they collapsed down the stretch the next season because maybe that would have been their chance. But, you know, this idea of playing with house money, you really never know when you're going to get another opportunity. That was like the closest the Texans ever came to making it to an AFC championship. There hasn't been a Houston team in an AFC championship since the late 70s. I mean, that's a long effing time, man. But I'm going to make you guys believe, because there's a couple of interesting tidbits as we get closer and closer to tomorrow's game. And of course, we're going to have a post-game show here, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5 with me, with Josh Beard, with Michael Connor, who you'll hear next. 1, my helmet keeps falling off. I don't have it on yet. but it's an autographed J.J. Watt helmet. It's a relic. Oh, did you know that in 11 out of 22 seasons with first round buys, did you know that one of the 1 seeds has been picked off in half of those years? At least one. So you get the bye week, great. But I mean, the Tennessee Titans know that very well. They've been the 1 seed 3 times over that stretch, and they have lost all 3. Maybe if the Titans weren't involved in this, we would be maybe looking at that statistic and not caring as much about it. But half of the years, the last 22, the 1 seed has gone down. A 1 seed has gone down. Also, something to keep in mind. I saw this from my guy Brandon Scott over at the Flagship. Everyone who beat the Ravens this season lost to the Texans, the Colts, the Steelers, and the Browns. There's no denying that the Baltimore Ravens are playing a lot better right now, at least when they've tried. The wins against the 49ers, the wins against the Dolphins, the win against the Jaguars, like impressive victories. But this is the same team that lost to Matt Canada, Steelers' disgraced offensive coordinator, Kenny Pickett, Gardner Minshew, and Deshaun Watson, who did not have a good year this year. These are people who beat the Ravens this season. And I'm just going to piggyback off of this. The 2011 Ravens team was a much better team than this one. And I'm sure you're going to tell me differently, but that team went to a Super Bowl the next year and won. And maybe Lamar Jackson, a better quarterback than Joe Flacco, sure. But that Ravens team had Ed Reed. That Ravens team had Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Haloti Ngata, Ray Rice, Anquan Bolden. There were lots of good players on that team. Lots. The team that had a third-string quarterback with TJ Yates almost beat that team. I mean, that Ravens team was a missed field goal, very easy field goal away from potentially being in the Super Bowl against the Giants that year. Like they played the Patriots down to the absolute wire that season. This Ravens team is good. Do not get me wrong. They are beatable. They are not that team. This is a team that a couple of years ago, we talk about those 1 seeds who lost to Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. Are they a different team, a better coach team? Sure. But Lamar Jackson was the MVP that year too. It is possible. It is certainly possible. And we've seen teams with rookie head coaches and rookie quarterbacks win multiple playoff games. The 2008 Baltimore Ravens, they're one of those teams. Joe Flacco and John Harbaugh in his first season. I think CJ Stroud's better than Joe Flacco. The 2009 Jets with Rex Ryan, with Mark Sanchez. Same thing. Apparently it's Sanchez. I don't know. Those 2 teams advanced with first-year head coach, a first-year quarterback. Do not trick yourself into believing it is impossible for the Houston Texans to win on Saturday. It is not. There is a chance. I don't know how big that chance is, but I'm going to give you my final prediction for this game next.
We return you to the only person who thought the Texans would win 10 games this year, Paul Gallant.
Foster turning the corner, 25, up the sideline, and pulled down across the 40-yard line by Ed Reed.
Not the greatest call there by Greg Gumbel, by Dan Dierdorf during the Texans' very noble 20-13 loss the last time they were in the playoffs in Baltimore. But did you know that was the longest run that the Ravens allowed that year? 28 yards. Showed up on a graphic right afterwards. I might have to rewatch that game tonight because I know they lost, but it really was like a hard-fought, you should be proud of how you played end of a Friday Night Lights movie where the character who plays Billingsley gets the ring from his deadbeat drunk dad played by Tim McGraw. Like that that was the kind of loss that's going to earn like a drunken father's respect, you know?
Wow, that's high praise.
It's high praise. Very high praise. Okay, guys. It's prediction time. I can't, in good conscience, rationally pick the Houston Texans to beat these Baltimore Ravens tomorrow. I just can't. Let me tell you about a word. It's called faith. I'm not going to lie. There's been a lot of things in life that have affected my own faith in anything. My belief in a family with my parents splitting up, me moving to Florida, my dad and sister staying up in Massachusetts. The faith that I had growing up in God, being a Catholic, also out the window because of the way that they treated my mom and wouldn't let her get remarried in the church. Faith in myself after getting fired a couple of times in this industry. It's hard as you get older to keep faith in a lot of things. I know one thing I always had faith in growing up were the New England Patriots, who were one of the most impressive dynasties that you're ever going to see in sports history. I had a blind faith in that team. It got me through a lot of crap during my life. And I've had a little bit of that kind of faith with the Astros before. I'm not sure I still have it. Pay Josh Hader. Not sure I still have it, though, Jim Creighton, you poor-ass bitch. Come on, spend some money. I like you, Jim. I'm just kidding. We'd be friends. And yet here I am looking at this team quarterbacked by a rookie, coached by a first-year coach. And I think they're going to win. I can't explain it. I can't, even if I tried, but there is something really special about CJ Stroud. And I do get some of those same awesome childhood memories that I have of watching Tom Brady when I see Stroud out there. And I'm not saying he's the same quarterback. But for whatever reason, I just believe in this team that has been so likable, that has fought so hard down the stretch despite so many injuries. And for just a little bit of time right now, I am choosing to embrace that blind faith. Because, I mean, what the hell's the point of life if you don't have faith in something crazy happening? So with that in mind, you knew it was coming. The Houston Texans are going to go into Baltimore tomorrow, and they're going to win. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. Just believe. Because it's fun. That's what this whole damn thing's all about. Should I just leave early? Make Connor and Beer come in early? Because I just crushed that speech. Sean, are you tearing up?
Yes, I am. Especially the part about divorce.
Yeah, that part.
You really didn't pull any punches. Tugging on the old heartstrings.
Listen, if you've watched Any Given Sunday, the Al Pacino speech, he's like, listen, I effed up my marriage because I was banging whores, you know? And like, yeah. you gotta really pull at the heartstrings here. Mm-hmm. I was pulling from something real. Baby.
Why do you think the Texans are going to beat the Ravens? Well, let me start by saying my parents got divorced.
Life is pain. You got to go into tomorrow thinking they're going to win. You got to. What's the effing point otherwise? It's been way too long for us to love this football team. And I'm not kidding. As someone who did grow up a Patriots fan but has lived here and considers this his home, I am feeling weird feelings about what I've seen the last couple of months from this team. It's been a hell of a ride. Who am I to pick against them? I don't want to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. I just have faith that they can get it done. Will they? Again, who knows? I can't tell the future. I can't. I think predictions when it comes to stuff like this, even though I am patting myself on the back for picking the Texans to have 10 wins this season, it's such a, like, just throwing stuff out there kind of game. But while I definitely respect the Ravens, think they're a great team, they're 9.5-point dogs. That's just not enough respect for what this team has done this year. It's been a hell of a ride. I think it's going to continue. Make sure that you are subscribing and liking the ESPN Houston YouTube channel. We will be live streaming our reactions to the game. We're still figuring out the logistics of that, but it's going to be me. It's going to be Josh Beard. It's going to be Michael Connor. I'm going to bring some Pendleton whiskey to the house. We want to hear from you after the game, so make sure that you tune in afterwards as well. You can also hear it on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. We will have a post-game show. Sean, you could not have ended the show on a better note. It is football time in Houston, baby. I'm ready to play. You're ready to play. Today is the greatest day of your life. Saturday, biggest game of the Houston Texans season. Hit it, Clay Walker. Let that go.